Hello, everyone. Sharina, you were mute, so I guess that this is about introducing
Oh
me.
no! Oh my gosh!
I was trying to
I've
let you
been
know. So
I've
if
been
you want
muted
to
for
restart the whole introduction, go ahead.
oh my gosh, sorry. I've been muted for a whole 2 minutes. This is gonna be so great for me to watch back. Okay, well you can be here for my intro. Thanks everybody for joining. Let me say that again in case you didn't read my lips before. Um, I'm Sharina, as you might know, your creative producer of My Neighbor Alice and your host, now unmuted. So Lorraine is here with us today. Thank you for joining. Happy to have you here. Um,
Happy to be back. Thank you for inviting me again.
thank you. I was saying that we have some goodies in store today. So if you can, stay to the end of the stream because it's literally going to be music for your ears. We have our next special guest. He's a new face to Alice and Chill. And not only does he make M&A sound amazing, his ears capture everything from the tiniest sound effects to the energy that's felt pulsing throughout the archipelago. Our audio lead, Harley. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi. How are ya?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me on. It's great to be here.
We're so happy to have you. Thanks for joining us. Okay, well, welcome to both of you. And I'm so excited to have you here. So, this is a really cool episode because now we get to explore audio and narrative together as a unit, which is super cool. So before we get into all the nitty gritties of audio narrative, why don't each of you do a quick intro of who you are and what you do on Alice? Maybe Lorraine, do you want to start, and then Harley can go.
Sure. So my name is Lorraine. I'm a narrative lead on the project, which means that I craft the world of Lumelunda, or at least its stories, its characters, and the emotional tone. So it's about creating a believable world, mainly. And for that, music and sound is super powerful storytelling tools. So I'm super happy that today we're shedding the light on that and that we give it some attention.
Nice. Thanks, Lorraine.
Yeah, and I'm Harley. I'm audio lead on the project. We're a small team of two, myself and our composer called Ren. So I do more of the overall direction and the technical stuff and some of the sound design, and Ren does all the fun things with instruments, basically. So yeah, and I've been on the project for a while now, since 2021.
Long time. You and Lorraine both have been here for a long time, which is also why it makes it so special because we have two of the pioneers, let's say, of Alice with us today, right from the beginning. Um, all right. Well, let's just dive right in. So, one thing that I wanted to bring up is the music that plays before our live stream. As you may have heard, hopefully that wasn't muted either, but that is music that our internal audio department, Harley and Ren, they make together, which is amazing. So the music we have in M&A is truly beautiful, and we hear it all the time from people who play our game. So, Harley, I wanted to know when you first realized that you love music and how that led you over here to M&A.
Yeah, I guess my background with audio started when I was a teenager, and I used to just go out and watch live music all the time locally. We have all of our local bars have bands on at the weekend, so I just used to go and listen to live music, and some of them are really bad, some of them are really good, but I just enjoyed the energy of it, and hearing things live. And from then I went and learned to play instruments. I started off learning guitar, and later got into playing bass, which is my main instrument. And yeah, from there, really, I got into other areas of audio. I started getting into music production, and the more technical side of audio, mixing and mastering. And went on to study audio at college and university, and then worked in various audio roles, really, from like studio roles to uh, freelancing on indie projects and that kind of thing, until I found myself working on Alice, which was in the pre-alpha I first contributed to the game, which was 2021. And then I joined full time in 2022. And since then, dedicate a lot more time to it.
Nice. I love that. Well, that's great. Thank you for sharing. That's a quite a long pathway to going through all different facets of music and to get you here on M&A. So we're so happy to have you here. I've always loved music since I was younger, and then I met Lorraine, and we share music with each other all the time, which is very nice because I feel like my musical tastes are a little bit different. So we like to open up each other's worlds to different types of music that we listen to all the time, different like cultural type of music. Like there's so many things that we share. We're part of a group that we have music sent back and forth, which is really nice. But yeah, so today with narrative and audio, we want to explore the two together, because I think that you can have both separately, of course, but when you combine the two, that's when like the real magic happens. And so since they go really hand in hand and they really enhance each other, that's why it's so great that you're both here. So I wanted to maybe touch a little bit on that since you've both been here from the beginning, basically. You've obviously got to experience what it was like pre-alpha, alpha, beta, and how music and audio and narrative have evolved over that time. So I want you both to reflect back a little bit to some of those early stages of the project, because I'm very curious to know how audio and narrative has evolved, like I said, over the time, and how it managed to come together to complement each other so wonderfully in the game.
Yeah, I mean, things have changed a lot. I'm sure Lorraine would agree, but I think there's some fundamental things that have always been there. That ran through narrative and audio and every other department, which was kind of the connections with nature and that sort of thing. I think fundamentally that's always been part of our goal, but over time things have gotten more complex and we've branched out and involved other elements too. So yeah, I think we've worked together quite a lot over the time and really evolved.
I mean, one of the things that I can say is that before Harley, when it was the open pre-alpha, we had this whole issue with footstep, which was just damaging the entire player experience. And that's like when we start looking for an audio person to solve that. And then Harley just over-delivered, and now we have full-on music into regions and Foley and all these things. So I would say it evolved tremendously, for sure.
Yeah, nice. How do you guys like, I mean, you develop all the music in the game and you obviously pull like inspiration from each other because I know that the two of you do collaborate like quite closely every week on the project. But where like the inspiration for the music, I mean, it's like I think it's like quite unique and like whenever we've spoken to people about Alice, one of their favorite things is the music and the vibe that we give them when they're in the game, because it's like so nice and it's relaxing, and that's kind of the environment that we're trying to foster for people that come in. So where does the inspiration for this, the energy and the vibe from the music and the narrative that we have in game come from?
So I mean, we're inspired by a lot of things. First of all, other games. You know, we try to reference a lot of different media. We don't just look at other games or look at music. We look at everything. So we see what people love about other games that they play, and like games that I've played and enjoyed the audio in. Like, why did I enjoy them? I guess I didn't think about it that much until now, and I wanted to apply some of those things. But we're also really driven by the work that Lorraine does in narrative, the fundamental stories behind the game, but also more abstract things like how do we want the player to feel in this area or in this moment. So we're really driven by a lot of different things and other departments too, and our very multicultural team. You know, we're all over the world, and we that's always something we've wanted to represent in game is that it's a neighborhood of everyone coming together, and we try to reflect that through the music too. We use instruments from all different cultures and time periods, and I think that's a really important part of what we do, is to not just focus in on one thing, but actually have a little bit of everyone in My Neighbor Alice so that everyone can relate to something.
Ooh, I love that. That's so special. Did you want to add anything, Lorraine, before I start talking?
Oh no, just one of the, because you touched on like the inspiration from the work we do in narrative, and I would say that like in these, the narrative is about setting intention. I think we touched on it when we talked about the region creation, but we are not trying to define like something so structural. We just try to define it. We start with the feeling and an emotion and we expand from it. And I feel that music in this really complete this intention in ways that like words or visual will not do. And sometimes will even reveal unseen layers of a story. Like I think, I mean, I don't know if you, for example, have spent a lot of time in Rusty Bike. There are some echoes that you can hear. It's definitely connected to a story that we might not have expressly said about like with words, but you can feel it through the atmosphere and the sound. So that's something that like when thinking about it from narrative perspective, I also try to integrate music, and I also take a lot of inspiration from other games or movies or sometimes just like a scene in the nature. So we end up having like a base reference for that. I would say, yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. So something when I was thinking about this question, which I thought about a lot over time because I love watching movies and playing games and just assessing like where things are different and how the audio changes and just things like that. First, it's really cool that the audio team uses like instruments from all over the world because, of course, like we want people to feel like Alice is their home when they come in. So I feel like that really adds to it as well, making you feel like you're comfortable and you found a place where you belong. So I think that's really awesome. And I actually didn't know that. But you can definitely hear it now when I'm thinking back to all of the audio that I have heard. You can definitely hear all of those little details. And then the thing that you said, Lorraine, about not necessarily having dialogue, but having more like emotion, drive stories, and also intertwine with the audio. Like something that I was thinking about were silent movies because there's literally no dialogue, but the audio makes the story and they go so well hand in hand. And like also many animated short films, they tend to just be like audio with story and no dialogue. And I feel like that's really nice because you get to really, you're able to create your own interpretation of what's going on and why the story is unfolding the way that it is or why the tone of the audio changes. And I think that we do like a really, really great job of having that, like the ability for people to come in our game and also create their own interpretation of like why you guys have built a region the way that it is or why the vibe is like that. And yeah, and the sound effects that we have, I was discussing this with Harley, I think yesterday, but like sound effects, I was watching a movie the other day and it was like there was a fight with like machine guns or something. And when I was watching it, I was kind of like, whoa, wait a minute. Like they put that sound effects in there. Like it's not just coming from the camera. And I know it's, you know, we all know that stuff, but the movies are movies. They're made to make you think that sound effects, they're just there. Nobody's putting them in post-production, you know? So that is also something that blew my mind. And then I was like, okay, Sharina, don't watch a movie like this because you're literally going to ruin every single movie that you watch. I don't know if that ever
Yeah.
happens to you guys.
No, it's a good point though. I think obviously as an audio person, maybe overanalyze a lot of the things I listen to, but a lot of the best audio is the audio that you don't notice, because it means that it's immersive and it's keeping you in the world. Having said that, we do want to do things that stand out sometimes, but generally speaking, if you don't notice it, then it means it's working properly. So that's usually a good sign.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's so funny that you say that. I like, because I was in animation before. Actually, I'm curious, Lauren, if this happens to you too. Once I started working in animation, my production manager said to me, like, once you start working here and you like get to know how cartoons are made, you're never going to be able to watch a cartoon the same way because you're always looking out for things that that I've worked on in the pipeline, right? And she was right. Like, I can't watch them the same way anymore. So I'm curious if it's the same for both of you with story and with audio. When you watch something or you're playing a game or something, you play it a little bit differently now that you are working in that field.
For sure. Actually, I call this the Disney effect, is when you go into an amusement park and you see all these beautiful houses that they put as a theme into an area, and then you might see the back of it and it's just cardboard that is standing with like just a piece of wood. This is how it feels at times. For me, the biggest like effect shock in that area that I had was the way that you create quest and how you can actually see everything through a more tool approach or practical approach. While when you play your own, when you play a game and you see the beautiful story unfolding in front of you, you don't think on this aspect. And now I do. I'm like, oh yeah, here they added this action here, or this is an interaction point, or, it's all these things that you now are able to see because you know how this is being built. So I totally agree with you on that.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's good because you take those things and you learn from them and you apply it to what we do. And other times you're just like, I just want to enjoy this thing and not think about it so much. but
Yeah.
but it's good. It's a nice problem to have.
That's so funny. Yeah, it is a nice problem to have. You're right. That's because we have experience now with these things, so we can catch them when we're experiencing them ourselves. Okay, nice. So one of the things that we want to talk about today is sound effects. So I brought that up already. So emote sound effects. So we have a few audio clips to share. So excited for this. So recently, if you have been playing our game, we integrated emotes over the past year, I think, in My Neighbor Alice. And we have a few clips to share. So Harley, I'll ask you while I'm getting Lorraine's screen set up. I wanted to ask you, actually both of you, why emotes and sound effects are such an integral part of our game. And yeah, maybe we can share some of them shortly. So
Yeah, sure. It's all about self-expression, right? We want players to be able to express how they feel and to just have fun. It's just for me, it's all about that. And obviously, the visual feedback that you get, the animations and the particle effects are a big part, but also the sound can have a really strong effect on the way the emotion comes across. So emotes are an important part of that, and it's a good way for people to communicate with each other as well. I know we have we have our chatting game, but sometimes it's easier to just communicate something with an emote, especially if you're speaking across different languages or something like that. It can be simpler.
yes, definitely. I just wanted to highlight this comment from Super Soju. She says the narrative, music, and visuals have been pieced together so beautifully for each region, and we can't wait to see what the team has created for the rest of the regions. Absolutely. There are, yes. So as we noted in our roadmap, we are going to be releasing a new region. So keep your ears peeled for the music that will come. Okay, great. So thank you, Lorraine, for sharing your screen. I think we can play some of the emote sound effects here. So the first one is the emote sign. We have two signs that we implemented with the racing collection that came out recently. So the first sound is, should I play it? Do you have the the
I do
emote,
not
the
have the
sign.
emote,
Oh, okay,
unfortunately. On
that's
this one,
okay.
I didn't craft it
No
yet.
worries, no
But
worries. That's okay. We'll play the sound and then we can chat about it a bit. So while you laugh in the game.
yes, in this beautiful plot, Blood Moon, I really enjoy it.
Ooh, yeah, it is very, very beautiful. Okay, so the first one is emote sign 0.
Yeah, so this I guess we'll act out the emote in person instead. You
Yeah.
you hold up the little sign and it's got a 0 on it. It's like, boo, that was bad.
Well, if
Perfect.
someone
Then
has the emote and wants to join me in Lumestad, maybe we do it like this.
That would
So
be cool.
ooh, yeah.
let me
Anybody.
travel.
And then the other one is emote sign 10.
Yeah, so I think this is a good example of how these two are kind of like the same action. The only difference really is in the emotion of them, right? They're both holding up a sign. One of them's like, this sucks, and the other one's like, oh, this is awesome. And we have this kind of drum roll as a build up to be like, oh, which one are you gonna get? And then we use instruments to represent the emotion that comes after. So we do it through the choice of the instrument that we use, but also through the melody. So on the 0, it's like, wah, wah, like, oh. And then on the more positive one, it's like, da, da. So it rises up instead.
I love that. Yeah, the trumpet always gets me. It's hilarious.
Yeah. And
Okay, let's see
some
it.
of our aim with them is just to kind of be a bit dumb and funny, It's not always
Yeah.
serious. Oh, these are the
Ooh, look
violent
at
ones.
that.
Yeah,
Blood
these
Moon
are the
and
newest
Mario for
emote
sure.
from the last collection that we
Yeah.
released.
Yeah, the birthday collection. I love those floating balloons. If only we could actually float in real life with that amount of balloons. How fun would that be?
I definitely couldn't after Easter weekend. Need a few more balloons.
Yeah, you know.
But what I really
same.
like about the emotes is that, I mean, Harley, you were mentioning this already, but it's the fact that since we're an MMO and it's a social game, it's so important to express yourself and have like like a visual language. I really like that you said that because that's super important. I remember at the beginning when we didn't have emote, we were just jumping around to symbolize that we were next to each other. And now we have so many ways to express, including more whimsical ways like the balloon or the confetti. So it's super nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree. This is awesome. I love it when we get together and emote in game. There's a sign. Blood Moon's about to sign up.
I see the 10.
One more time for good measure. Love it. All right. Okay, well, do we want to go take a look at the fiber refinery maybe?
Yeah, sure.
Lauren, could you want to travel there? So, yeah, this is really great because I don't know if anybody who's here with us today. A few weeks ago, we had Remy and Lorraine, Remy, our art director, and Lorraine on Allison Chill, and we were actually looking at the fiber refinery together. But unfortunately, the audio for some reason doesn't play through screen sharing. So we have the audio for it today, and we really wanted to hear it because it's such a beautiful piece of audio for this crafting station. So yes, here it is, our beautiful
Here it
fiber
is.
refinery.
Back on my
I'll play
plot.
those sounds. Yes, on your beautiful plot that I love so much. Okay, yeah, here's the sound. I love it. It's so magical.
Yeah, so we and this was another one that was kind of narrative driven, and we like to add that layer of fantasy almost into things, right? And the thing with this one is the butterflies that are flying around on top of the asset, and the idea was that they're the ones weaving the fiber, right? And obviously we have them there visually. In the real world, you wouldn't be able to hear 3 butterflies flying around on a piece of fiber, right? That's not something you would actually hear. So I think this is a good example of how audio in games isn't always about recreating what you would hear in real life. Sometimes it's about trying to tell a story through it. And I think if I remember, we did this a while ago, Lorraine, but I think if I remember right, the idea was that the butterflies had like glass wings, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so in the audio we wanted to represent those glass wings moving around with that sound on top, that kind of glistening sound.
Ooh, okay, let's hear it
And
again.
I think something that like is amazing with Harley is that you give him like, okay, the butterflies are just like this, or I would like to convey this intention, and you're able to replicate it in through sound and rhythm and pacing. It's pretty amazing because and also the way that like you orientate the questions on like, okay, but what do you mean when you say this? So digging a little bit into the emotion and the feeling, then you're able to create all these sounds, and that's pretty amazing, I think, on that one. And yeah, for this one, it was, oh, it's more of a crystalline, like glass wing kind of butterfly, and here it is.
That's so cool. I think, like I knew obviously that there are butterflies there, but I didn't know because it sounds to me like wind chimes, but then yeah, it's exactly like when you explain it like that, you can totally hear like the glass butterflies and them weaving the thread together. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, every time you and Ren share a piece of music and for us to listen to internally, it always blows my mind because you guys are so creative with the tools that you use and like constantly coming up with ideas like this. It's awesome. It makes it so much
Thank you.
more like I feel like engaging for people as well because it's like a tiny little surprise for something that they wouldn't have expected. Like I feel like a crafting station is it's a smaller item, so maybe people might not expect there to be um, so much thought put behind the small sound effects that comes with it. But like we put thought behind everything in this game, and that's why it's so beautiful.
Yeah, I think it's a good example of how every asset to us has a story, right? And sometimes it's not a literal story, but sometimes it's that this is like a handmade item and it's kind of imperfect. And that's a common theme with us, is that we want our world to feel sort of handcrafted, as opposed to something like a sci-fi game where everything's all futuristic and perfect. We go for this kind of, everything's got imperfections, everything's kind of been put together by people themselves, and we try to represent that through the audio as well. You can hear things creaking and moving around kind of a little bit awkwardly sometimes because that's how they are. This might have been put together by someone on their plot and handcrafted on a bench with a hammer.
I love that. Yeah, definitely. Everyone's giving you 10 out of 10, Harley. Look at
Thank you. I'll wait for the 0.
But yeah, I love that you said like the idea is that there is a story behind every asset that we create because yeah, like I think one of the things actually Lorraine that our past art director would challenge I think a lot on was small stories. Like I think when I came in, I had told them like I'm really interested in storytelling as well. And so that's how I started working more closely with Lorraine to get a sense of how the narrative department worked. And one of the tasks that he had given me was create a story about this tiny box. Like it was like a tiny little wooden box with a gold lock. And I think that I sat down for like 2 hours or 3 hours staring at this box like, how do I make a story about this small little box that literally has nothing inside of it and like there's not a whole lot for me to go off of, but like he pushed me and pushed me and pushed me and I was like, oh wow, I ended up coming up with like 10 stories for this tiny little box that literally had nothing in it, but like there's so many ways that you could push a story about a box like that. So I feel like when we are creating our assets or concepting them or doing stories for regions and things like that, like we really do our best to push ourselves further and further so that we create this really beautiful experience for everybody in game. So I just
Definitely.
wanted to share that. I was
I
proud of
think
that moment for
what we
myself.
also want to do on that note is let people come up with their own stories, right? So, and Lorraine will agree with this that not all of narrative is about what we tell to the player with text. It's about what we give to the player to tell their own stories. And when we give them assets, and when they have a sound, and when they have something visual going on, they can come to their own conclusions and think, oh, how do these butterflies work? Where do they come from? Are they magical? Do they really exist in the world? Am I the only one seeing them? People kind of come up with their own stories, and that plays back into the self-expression that we ultimately want to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. It's that majority of the work of narrative is actually into building the foundation for all of us to, I mean, and every department, like craft as well, but building the foundation for like what you see, what you hear, what you interpret, and all these rules. So yeah, it's exactly as you said, Harley. It's a lot of it is not. It's not going to be via quest or text. It's the framework that we make of the world. So yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm. Well, on that note, we can maybe go visit Trinity Worlds because, like you said, there it's the framework that builds our world. So, um, you both work really closely to integrate audio narrative into each of our islands, into each of our regions, with tailored pieces of music for each one and stories. So I wanted to know how audio and narrative influenced each other to create the atmosphere in Journey Worlds. And then we have some audio pieces for that as well, and we can possibly break that down further too. So let's hear it.
Just for
Yeah,
everyone in game, I'm going to go to the town hub of Tourney World if you wanted to follow.
that would be
Thanks,
cool.
Lorraine. Yes, let's go.
Yeah, we worked very closely on, we work closely on everything that we do, but especially on the regional soundtracks. I think there's a lot more back and forth with those than perhaps other assets we make. And it's because we kind of develop them together between departments, between audio, narrative, art, and everyone. Because I think we inspire each other, and it's all about we kind of build a block each, and it all builds up over time. And I think Tawny Worlds is a great example of really narrative-driven music.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, I just played it because I figured we could talk on top of it, but it definitely, that you're not in, Lumistad anymore. You're completely somewhere different.
So I don't know if Lorraine, if you want to introduce a bit of the story behind this region for people if they don't know.
Sure, I was focused on climbing. I managed to do the hardest part now. Yes, no, but just starting with Medieval Plain as an island, because we did put story structure onto that, which is the Tales from Ravelot. It's a collection of legends. So we got inspired by the main tale medium that you can imagine when thinking of the medieval times. So we have like all these heroic legends, and here we have the idea of a family of fox and mice that were fighting each other back in the time. So when it comes to now Journey Worlds, that is one aspect of the story that is happening here. So I think we started with the idea of like the Grand Plains and the vastness of it. But the story behind Journey Worlds is that we have Sir a Mice, so this little mouse, and the Tournament of Cheese. And this is why that town hub is actually called Cheesy a Mice, in honor of the cheese for which this little mouse fought for as being super brave and courageous against a rooster. And I think, we were talking about this story, and then Harley, you totally took it and managed to do this grand piece that is definitely showing some aspect of you can really hear the courageous mice behind, I would say. So it's I think you should add on that because the whole process was really fun to work on also.
Yeah, so this music was composed and produced by Ren, our composer, and he just takes things and runs with them when you give him information. You know, you tell him something and he's instantly inspired. You should get him on here one day to talk about it, because I think it'd be really
Yeah.
fascinating to hear how he produced it. You know, I didn't make this. You know, I just helped support and bring people together. But I think our goals with it were really, first of all, to represent the open, flat feeling of the plains, and then to bring in that sort of medieval battle feel. And I think we do that through melody. We do it through the way that the music is written and composed. We tried to reflect melodies that would have been used at that time, because music was performed in medieval times, and this is a sort of in the same flavor of how it might have sounded then. And also in the instruments that we use. So we use things like harps and flutes, things that would have been used during that time period, and more traditional kind of things like Irish drums that they give it a more sort of small tavern feel, rather compared to something more traditional like an orchestral drum that you would use. And we also used like live acoustic guitars. I mean, we don't have access to every instrument in the world ever, and some of these, you know, we don't have instruments from like the 1500s or whatever, but we use modern techniques to kind of recreate the feeling and the sound of old instruments. So we use like acoustic guitar here to simulate the sound of something like a lute, which might have been someone would have traveled with and performed music in different areas.
You can totally hear, like, how you said, like, it gives you kind of like a small tavern type vibe. I feel like you can totally hear that in this music.
And I think something that me and Ren have always pushed for is like imperfection, right? It's we want to hear a bit of string noise sometimes. You can almost hear the fingers moving across the strings and stuff, because we want it to feel performed and organic, and not be too perfect.
Yeah, definitely. That's really lovely. So we have 2 other pieces for Turning Worlds as well. So maybe I'll play the Atmosphere clip.
Yeah.
So Atmosphere is separate from Ambient. So how do they differ from one another?
So one of the difficulties with making music especially for an open world game, where you spend a lot of time on your plot, is that if we just write a 3-minute piece of music or whatever, it doesn't matter how good it is. If you hear it on loop constantly, it's going to drive you crazy. It doesn't matter if we write the best music in the world. You don't want to hear it constantly. So we took a kind of 3-stage approach to things, where we have the main soundtrack for the region. We have this track which just played, which is an atmospheric soundtrack, which we kind of see as like a stripped back, slightly slower version. It's a little bit more sparse and kind of less in your face. And then we have the third layer, which is an ambient track, which is this one, which is almost no music at all, not in the traditional sense. But here we have a chance to tell more stories about, in this case, what wildlife is around. And it gives us a chance to involve other parts of the narrative. You can kind of hear distant, like, rooster calls and that kind of thing, which was supposed to be a callback to the Battle of the Cheese.
I love that. Okay, that's so cool. At what point, like, do you and Lorraine, like, play off each other? Like, does it help more for you to receive some, like, stories or some lore before you guys make the music, or can you do that first and then maybe that helps Lorraine to create the stories? Like, how does that flow?
I think with these ones we were very collaborative, right? We spent a lot of times in calls together talking about them, and it always starts with the fundamental feel of the region that Lorraine builds. I think, like, how do we want people to feel here? What kind of people lived here? Why is this region the way it is? It starts with that, and then I guess we build it together.
One of the things that is a bit hard when talking about the creative process, I would say, is I wish sometimes it could just be, yeah, for sure, every region will be built like this. But depending on like the inspiration you have on some region or like the constraint or everything, like you don't always start the same because maybe you have certain reference at some moment, maybe not. And there has been cases also where music has been the start of inspiration at times or like starting to build the foundation. So it's not that like the you can always say, oh, this comes first and then this comes seconds. It's that's why we talk about a collaborative approach. It's in the sense of like, well, do you have more ideas on this one? Yes, I have this instrument. Like I love, for example, when Ran comes up with this specific cultural instrument, like you were mentioning this, and it really helps also to sometimes build the story. Just thinking of like this one instrument and thinking, oh, how can we yeah include this into the region story. So it's not easy to put like a specific process on the creation. But yeah, for sure it's a lot of talking, as Harley says, with lots of conversation about what's the role of the world here, or what's the story of the region, or do you have an idea about this, and then we see.
And images,
Nice.
right, from the real world. Like we have boards full of pictures from different places that inspire us, and some of them get used, some of them don't. But it's just about having a collaborative space where we can throw everything in and see what comes out afterwards, I think.
Hmm. Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah, because like I feel like maybe people don't know that your departments, I mean, and art as well. That's why I'm the creative producer, because I have all of you guys under my wings. But like we all collaborate like so closely together, specifically like the two of you and Remy, I know, because it really helps to see everything and have everything on the table and then talk about it together. And it's really cool that we get to do that from different parts of the world as well, because I know we're all in different countries, actually. So,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that is one of the
yeah,
strengths of our team as well, and we should totally build on that. On this, like the different places where where we're from, or where we live, and the different inspiration that we can get. So for sure.
Yeah,
yeah,
everyone in the team contributes to the project creatively. People in less creative roles, like programmers, they contribute a lot as well, because we've all got a different cultural background, and ultimately we're trying to make a game for everyone, and we can only do that if we get input from everyone, from people. We've got people on all continents, right, almost, like, and from all sorts of
hmm,
backgrounds, and we've got people that have traveled a lot, and then people like me who have traveled very little. But we all learn from each other, and then throw it into a big mixing pot, really, I would say. And hopefully it
yeah,
comes through to the players in the end, and they start to pick up on things and say, oh yeah, this is like a small nod to my culture here.
yeah, definitely. Yes, that's one thing that I love about this game as well. Is that we all come from different cultures and we do our best to put that into the game, which is so special. Look at this. This
I
is
love how
beautiful.
everyone is finding space onto
Yeah,
the beanstalk.
Gonna need some bigger leaves.
yeah. This beanstalk is so cute. I love it.
By the way, if you look at the top of the beanstalk, you can see the Sir Mice on it, the little statue.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Can we see that in, I can't
On
see,
the,
in your screen? That's one of my favorite parts about this adorable
here.
beanstalk. Oh,
Here, you can see it.
The
there we
little guy that
go.
inspired all of the music. It's right
Yes, it's me.
there.
We love that. Well, this has been so wonderful. I feel like we really dove in deep and went through like a lot of different topics, and this has been so great. Um, and all of the sounds have been so wonderful. We also have one additional sound as we wrap up here today, um, which is this very special surprise. And let me just see if I can get it up. So, it's a piece of music that's going to fill you with wonder, because why, guys? It hasn't been released yet, has
No.
it? So we're dropping a small alpha, sort of, sort of, not really, but some beautiful music for your ears that you might hear in the future. This is your first time on Alice and Chill, Harley, and you're already bringing alphas to our stream. So thank you for that. We really appreciate it. And I know the community is probably super excited right before I press play. So as I press play, I think we can wrap up.
Yeah.
This is, yeah, we don't have to mention much, but this is the music. So, thank you both for being here. It was really, really wonderful to be able to dive deep into all of these conversations with you, all these topics. Obviously, narrative audio is very intertwined. So yeah, do you have any last thoughts before we leave?
Thank you for having me on. It's been really fun. Yeah, I look forward to seeing what the community thinks of everything that we're doing right now, and hopefully you can hear it soon.
Thank you, Harley.
Thank you for having us again. And it's always fun to dive into the creative process. I mean, you know that I love talking about all these things, and I hope that the community enjoyed that aspect too.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I know that I did, and I'm sure that they did as well, because I feel like these types of conversations are quite rare to have. And that's exactly why we have Alice and Chill, because we love to show the people that are working on the project, the people behind the scenes, putting their passion into the game, and that we're making a game for the community, for everybody out in the world, from everybody that's across the world. So thank you for being here. Tune in next week because we have a live game night with our amazing community manager, Tassel. So I will play the music again, and I will leave you with that whimsical audio. Thank you so much again, Harley and Lorraine. It's been so wonderful having you here. And we will see you all next time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.